Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me once again as we look to the horizon. Um, so far, writing has been going pretty well this week. I did last week, at the end of last week, I had some minor writer's block. I managed to power through it and get that closed up, but Gospel According to Earth remains going apace. But I had less time last week to work on anything else. So, um, kind of a mixed bag there, to be perfectly honest. I have a new project on the back burner. Yes, another new one. This one has more of a deadline. So, I was told recently by uh, one of the people I work with frequently in the local theater community that there is going to be a local playwright competition next year. And I was encouraged to start thinking about what I want to do. And being a writer, I had an idea pretty much right away, whether I wanted it or not. Uh, so my thought is, um, it would be interesting to do a play, because plays have a lot of they have a lot of restrictions that other kinds of fiction don't. There's your budget. I suppose if you're writing for television or movies, you also have to think about that. But uh, theater groups, especially, have a very limited budget. They have limited space. You have to take into account things like the time to change sets. So you want to try and keep sets down. Um, you have to think about how many people you can recruit and have rehearse for the play. You have to think about the space available to bring people on stage and send them off stage. All kinds of things you have to think about in a play. So um, it's a very different kind of a writing challenge, and I've often wondered whether I would be a good playwright or not. I like to take very abstract ideas and personify them, which you can do on stage very easily, no doubt. But I'm given more towards the outlandish expressions of these abstract ideas, and many of the stories that I've written in the past would be very difficult to stage um, in any way, shape, or form, just because of the things that are going on in them, the kinds of creatures and characters that take part. So I asked myself, how could I dial in the kinds of stories I like, where I personify something very abstract and then tell a simple and stageable story built around it? Um, and one of the first things that came to mind was I have often enjoyed stories where you have to play a game with death for some reason. To keep going as part of the judgment of your soul, all those kinds of things. The mechanics of games, the personification of death, the ability to play out a person's conflict in a very, their lifelong conflicts, their struggles, their personality flaws, in this very tight and condensed form, very appealing to me. I began to think, what is a kind of game that you could play on stage and use to give insight into a number of characters in a very short, concise, and easy to understand way. And I had the idea of having several people playing cards with death. And this could be uh, not just a question of are you going to live or die, but what will happen to you once once the Reaper has moved you to your next place. Where is he going to take you at the end of the day? And that is the basic premise that I'm working from. I have some ideas about the kinds of characters who would show up in this kind of a story. Obviously, you're going to have some kind of personification of death, um, and you're going to have, a bunch of modern people. But something that appeals to me as well is in order to personify the aspects of death. Um, Death is this very big concept. He's overblown. I'm thinking if you're playing cards with death, maybe you should portray him as a saloon gambler. Um, so I have the idea that maybe he shows up like he's in a western, and everyone else looks like they're from the 21st century. That appeals to me a lot. I don't know if that will necessarily stick around, But yeah, and then the act of betting things, like you would do in a game of poker, gives you a chance to show what is important and what is not important to people. There is, in some stories that revolve around card games, there's a tendency when people run out of money to put what is important to them on the table. And I think that also meshes very well with the idea of people at the end of their life trying to work out what's going to happen to them, or perhaps trying to make a deal with death and escape their death for at least a little while longer. So I think there's a lot of fertile ground there. I'm still working out all those ideas. I'm trying to hammer it into a narrative shape and ask myself how these characters would grow confronting these kinds of obstacles. We'll see. We'll see. I will keep you appraised of this project, although it's going to be very much a background kind of a thing, at least for now. But those are the things that I've been working on this week. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. There's a like button and a subscribe button. You can use those as you see fit. And I will talk to you later.